Okay, guys, I'm gonna ask a question that I always wanted to know, and for some reason nobody could actually answer it for me. I'm gonna answer it. Okay? Are you ready? Are you ready? What the heck are bonds? Like, when I think of bonds, I think of like all of the old school movies. If they're ever portraying like either people in the wild, wild west for some reason, they loved bonds. Or like super, super rich people, they would always have like this stack of papers hidden in their desk and they'd be like, yes, my financial bonds. Yes. But like, what the heck are they? Like, I never fully understood what they were. So I did some research and I'm here to report back to you. Hey guys, it's your girl Jackie from the Financial Literacy Tribe coming at you with a brand new video. Before we jump in, can I ask you a question? Are you currently subscribed to my channel? Yeah? If you're not, be sure to destroy that subscribe button so you can be notified every time I have a new video. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. Okay, honest to God, as much as I thought bonds, like financial bonds, would be like an incredibly complicated topic, I found the perfect example to use for you guys. Do you remember back in like third grade, if one of your classmates would borrow something of yours and they'd be like, well, I can't pay you for it right now, but let me write you this IOU? That's a bond. A bond is literally like America's version of an IOU. It is an IOU. That is what a bond is. Literally, I'm not joking. A bond is just basically an IOU issued by a corporation or by a government promising to pay a specific amount after a designated amount of time has passed to whoever turns in that bond. For the purposes of this video, we're going to be talking specifically about savings bonds because I was interested to know if they were a good potential investment solution. Like I said, I was very unfamiliar with the concept. I didn't even know what the heck one was. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And just for clarification, savings bonds are a little bit different from the other types of bonds that exist because these are issued directly from the U.S. Treasury. So these are the government bonds that we were talking about earlier in the video. There are two main types of savings bonds, Series I and Series EE. Those are the two types. So Series EE bonds are sold at face value, which means that if it says $100 on the bond, that's how much it is that I'm purchasing it for. It's worth $100. Not much of an investment, right? Except if I hold on to that bond until it reaches maturation, which is about 20 years, the value of that bond doubles. So that's where you end up making your money back. Savings EE bonds also have an interest rate, but it doesn't fluctuate. It's pretty stagnant and it's usually very low, the actual interest rate. So you don't end up making much money there. You make the majority, the bulk of your money if you can hold on to that bond for the full 20 years until it matures and it reaches that date. Then automatically it's going to double in value. So that's where you make your money with the Series EE bonds. Now, just to clarify with the Series EE, once I purchase that bond, I don't have to wait the full 20 years for me to turn it in for money, right? Turn it into the U.S. State Department and get my money back. I can sell it a year after I bought it, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. But it's not going to double in value unless I wait that full 20 years and it reaches its maturation date. That's the issue. You could turn it in, like I said, up to a year after when it is that you bought it. But are you going to make any money back from it? That's the question at hand because as mentioned, they do have an interest rate, but it is not particularly high. Now, the Series I bonds are very similar to the Series EE bonds in that they are also purchased at face value, right? So if I buy a $100 bond, I pay $100 for it. And it also pays out interest. But the difference between the Series EE and the Series I is that with the Series I, the interest portion of it tends to be higher than with the Series EE. And the reason is because the interest portion for a Series I bond has two components to it. It has a fixed component, which means it does not change. It's the same, which is the same as with a Series EE. But then it also has a fluctuating component to the interest for the Series I bond. And that fluctuating component usually is keeping up with inflation. So people like that a lot because as inflation continues to rise 2% or who the heck knows, maybe even higher, your Series I bonds are going to be able to increase in value to keep up with whatever inflation is. With the Series EE, you don't have that guarantee. The only guarantee that you have with the Series EE is that it's going to double in value after you've held it for 20 years. With the Series I, it's going to be able to keep up with whatever the value of money is currently as per inflation. So that's the one benefit to the Series I, and it's the reason why people feel like potentially there's a lot more money to be made, especially if you didn't want to hold on to your bonds for 20, 30 years. That's a really long time. Like, do you even know where you're going to be 20 years from now? I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow, if I'm being honest with you. With the Series I bond, another difference between the Series I and the Series EE is with the Series I, there is no... Oh, I feel like I'm going to sneeze.
Bless me, sorry.
With the Series I bond, there is no guarantee that it's going to double in value after a certain period of time, right? The Series EE, it's going to double in value in 20 years. The Series I, we don't know that. All we know is that you're going to continue to get interest and that interest is going to fluctuate depending on how inflation is going within the U.S. So that's the main difference between the two. However, with the Series I, it's going to stop giving you interest. It's going to stop earning interest after 30 years. So however much it's going to be worth, who knows? It just depends on the markets and inflation and how we're doing economically within the U.S. That's what's going to determine the actual value of it. But what you know is that it's going to stop earning interest after 30 years. That's the difference between the Series EE and the Series I. So, I mean, I don't know. When I was taking this into consideration as a possible investment strategy for my portfolio, it's definitely interesting, right? And it's worth learning about. I guess my main thing is that I didn't necessarily see a ton of value because even with a Series I where the interest rate is fluctuating, the amount that you're making is still a significantly lower amount in comparison to traditional stock options, where the average return is going to be 8+% per year. Why would I settle for a much lower interest rate by purchasing bonds, right? But in general, from what I can gather, the people who are big fans of bonds, they like it because it's secure. They like it because they have a very low risk aversion, right? With the stock market, it crashes and you're screwed. That's pretty much it. But if you're investing a fair amount in bonds, literally, this is backed by the U.S. government. They're issued by the U.S. Treasury. So unless our entire economy within the U.S. collapses, and it's the apocalypse or something like that, there is a very, very high chance that you're probably going to get your money back. You're going to get whatever it is that you have invested in your bonds, So I think that's the major benefit to it, is the security, is just knowing that literally, unless our entire economy shrivels into dust, you're definitely going to get your money back if you're investing in bonds. So I think that seems to be the main benefit to it. And I definitely think it's part of a healthy, diverse portfolio. It's definitely something to take into consideration. So it is something that I'm looking into. I hope you found this video to be helpful, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button. As mentioned, be sure to subscribe if you're not currently subscribed to my channel. And if you want additional resources, such as what we covered today, be sure to check out my blog, which is available at focusedfrugalfab.com. And hey, don't keep this video to yourself. Share the knowledge. Share it with a friend or a family member or some other person that's trying to get their finances together, because sharing is caring. I love you and have a great day. Bye.